Yeah, baby. Yeah. The Mac is back with another video. Hello, the initiated. My name is Marcus Junnikala, and today we're having a look at Fracture Sound's Blueprint electric keys. Now, Blueprint is the name of the series of instruments, and electric keys is the iteration. That's the actual instrument in question. Taking myself to the email that I got regarding this is, so basically everything in this Blueprint series, it's a new series of instruments, a new lineup. They're all free, so that's really cool. They say the idea behind this series is that we're taking the development concepts and approaches we've applied across many of our prior releases and are creating a series of instruments that can be made available to a wider user base, giving an insight into the world of Fracture Sounds free of charge. Cool. So this is something that a few developers have been doing now for some time. I think it's a really cool concept. So the other one that comes to mind that I've been checking out in the form of demos is Heaviosity. They have this free line as well. I think it's a fantastic thing. There are a lot of people out there who simply cannot afford a lot of the libraries out there, so they need to save up to get stuff. And it's always cool to just have free, great quality tools out there, because the thing with these, in my experience at least so far, has been that there's no drop in quality. Whatever is there is done in the same way and fashion that all their other stuff is done. The difference comes from the scale of it. So there's just less content in the library. They tend to be simpler libraries with one sound, a few settings that you can tweak, and that's about it. And that's how these developers can justify the development costs for these libraries and can make them, free to the public. But it's really cool that they're high quality instruments that you can use for free. They're not like some, hacked together half quality things. They're actually bringing the same quality and the same substance, simply in a smaller package. So I think that's cool. And again, a lot of people out there don't have endless amounts of monies to spend, if any money to spend on libraries. So it's cool that they have access to this and they can be focusing on the most important thing, which is creating music for all of us. So taking myself to the website here. So it's vintage electric piano. It's a Fender Rhodes Mark I. They say combining the iconic sound of this instrument with our well-established modern sampling techniques and atmospheric effects. Okay, so that's cool. They have the at least I'd assume to some extent the Fracture Sounds, maybe the atmospheric layer effects in there, which I've said many times are one of the absolute strengths of the Fracture Sounds libraries, at least the piano libraries. I don't think the percussive ones have that, or nor could they utilize that, or could they? I don't know. Cool. So that's pretty simple. I have to say off the bat that you probably won't be able to see the interface actually update here on the screen in the contact interface. Unfortunately, I don't know what's going on, but the anything happening in Contact 6 coming into my recording software works perfectly fine. This library I have to showcase like this because this only works in Contact 7. So unfortunately, there's no other solution for me right now until I find the cause of the issue and fix it. So it's there for just like a general representation purposes. I will be, saying what I'm doing at the very least, so you'll at least hear the sound and see the control as it exists on the interface. But it doesn't update for some reason. But yes, this is for Contact 7. Runs in the free player, but has to be 7. I don't know which particular version it requires, but at least 7. NKS compatible, 2.3 gigs download, so pretty sizable for a free small library. Anything else? So it's they recorded it with DI, so direct, and also amped. Then they say and acoustic signals. I don't know, maybe that's like a space, like a mic, a room mic or something. And there is indeed a bespoke atmosphere layer, so that's cool to figure out, test out as well. Cool. Otherwise, seems like the controls are pretty basic. I don't expect this to be a massively long demo because it is a simple library in that regard, so it's probably going to be in length quite similar to maybe some of the Heaviosity shorter free library demos as well. But that's enough of that. Other than that, yes, they did send this over to me. It is a free library, so I get it for free just like everybody else, but they did send it my way and said it would be cool if I could check it out. And anytime it's a cool developer, I do indeed love to check stuff out. You'll only be hearing Blueprint electric keys in action, no added effects, nothing. So everything is coming from this right out of the box. I have a limiter on my master bus so I can make the level decent for this video. The limiter is transparent as I can make it. If we hear a bit of clipping here and there, I'll let you know where that comes from, but most likely it's coming from just blowing up the limiter. So if that happens, that is the limiter, and if it's not, I'll mention it, but most likely it is the limiter. And that being said, I will have to be adjusting the gain as we move along so that it's balanced appropriately for this demo. Anything else I want to touch on? Oh yeah, I mean, as always, or as often as I can make it, this is a blind demo. I haven't played or checked this out before this moment, so you'll get my authentic full response in that way. Cool. Can't come up with anything else to say, so let's play a bit and I'll try and get a good level going first of all. Okay, so right off the bat, very impressed. I can say straight up that this is a lot better than many of the paid offerings out there. So that's already very high praise considering the price tag is nothing. So a few things about me. I'm actually an electric piano nut, nerd, geek. I don't know. I have many of them. I have certainly what I'd say are the best offerings out there right now. I love Rhodes, different marks. I have quite a few of them. Libraries, don't have any physical ones. And I also love Wurlitzers, which like Wurlitzers tend to be my favorites overall because they have a sort of more controlled top end, less of that kind of sparkly tinny stuff. So I tend to prefer those, but sometimes you need a different tone. Like to me, electric pianos are very much like choosing a different guitar. Like you go for one for a very specific tone. So if a lot of the singer-songwriter type of stuff that I do uses a lot of electric piano, and I choose one always specifically for the track that I'm working on. So it's never really the same. But the point I'm trying to make, I have a lot of them. I've tested and played a lot of them, and this is already better than some of the ones that I have that I was disappointed in, and not to say, like, many of them have their place and time, but they probably ended up being not as great as I expected. But this is really, really great sounding. What else did I want to touch on that? Let me play a bit more so maybe I remember. Oh yeah, one of the things is an electric piano has a very vast frequency range. Obviously, have a lot of really big meaty low end. I actually oftentimes use electric piano, the low end of it, as a bass instrument, as the bass component of a track. Electric pianos respond tremendously well to effects processing. So distortion tends to be a very good pairing with electric pianos, keys. And you can really do a lot of like cool synthetic sounding stuff. And it's a great instrument because it's kind of there in between the organic and the mechanic, and the reed sound quality is kind of synthetic in ways. So it's a fantastic instrument. The point I'm trying to make here, which I started with, was oftentimes this vast frequency range makes it very uneven. And then you have to mix different parts of the different song for the different ranges that you're working with. So if you did something in the high end, that's going to have a very different frequency, especially like resonant frequency profile compared to the mid-range, and especially like the lower mids and then the low lows. This plays very nicely across the whole thing, which tells me they paid attention to this inconsistency that electric pianos very often tend to have. I don't know what they've done with it, whether it's something they did already in sampling or in post-processing, but this is very smooth. I don't feel like certain areas, certain resonant peaks that tend to build up, I don't feel like those are poking through in a nasty way. So that's, in my estimation and experience, super impressive already. So very nice. Bit of limiter clipping there. They've done, so to me, Rhodes pianos, especially in the, I'd say the Mark I category, which I think this one was, They get a bit too tinny to my taste, so I tend to either EQ those out or maybe do some transient work to kind of take out some of the clippiness of it, and then use something like a shelf EQ to shave off the top, make it sort of softer, and then maybe some resonance control for the reasons that we previously discussed. This is very pleasant to me. It doesn't get overly tinny and kind of spiky. And it has a nice bit of raspiness, a nice bit of that growl that accentuates the transients and gives it a bit of very, very pleasant grit. And this is where the distortion comes in and plays very nicely with the electric piano. You can accentuate those things, but obviously they first of all need to be properly sampled first. But this sounds very good in that regard, that it would be very responsive. Yeah, very good amount of mechanical noises to my taste, not overbearing, and not too subtle. If you go too subtle, it becomes very synthetic sounding. If you go too much, it's just going to be clicky and clackiness all over the place, and a lot of mechanical noises then can bring all kinds of issues in the mix phase. But let's look at the... Okay, maybe lastly, let me again just play a tad. You can obviously hear the atmosphere layer or the space. I think it's a bit of both here. I like my electric pianos very dry, and then I can plop them down in the kind of spaces that I want to be using. So to my taste, out of the box has a bit too much of that, but obviously they're going for the fracture sound atmosphere layer as well, which tends to be at default on. Here it's very tastefully done. It's not like super moody or how should I describe it? It's not like painting a different landscape in there, which often is the case with the pianos by default. They're definitely more sort of lively. This is more subtle, I'd say. So that's going to be quite quiet. We're going to amp it, crank it up soon, but sounds like kind of a sustained sampling type of thing meeting with some kind of a reverse, maybe granular thing. So it's kind of looping that back and forth, which is very cool. It's very subtle, but we'll see how that behaves soon. Okay, so this is the direct signal. Let's try the amp one. I'm going to play the direct for a bit and then change to the amp. So the amp is definitely brighter, a lot more brighter, has a bit more grit in there, and it does also end up accentuating the tinny kind of bell reed-like qualities. Personally, not, like I said, not a huge fan of that, but that's personal preference. I know in a ton of genres, ton of style, this is going to be exactly what people are looking for. But that is the difference here. And it ends up also accentuating those transients, which in this direct signal mix, I find to be that's a very sweet balance. You can hear the tactile nature of it. You can hear the transient, but it's not overly bearing. It's actually in a very nice place. Like here in the top end, you can hear that like a slight mechanical noise. That is nicely wet. It's not, don't take that out of context. It's not over excessive, but not understated either. Cool. I'll switch to the amp for a moment again. So with the amp, it definitely pulls more low end out, definitely pulls out the mids as well, accentuates the top, gets a bit grittier, brighter, etc. Personally, I prefer the direct here, and I would maybe, if I wanted to amp it, I would take the direct signal and then reamp through a plugin. Many options are available, but because I don't see that would actually have control over the specifics of the amp, so we can't, choose how much drive we want to push. So that's definitely a limiting factor here. A simple drive control would be really nice. I think that would basically take care of most of the needs in question, because within that you could kind of integrate also the brightness and the grit. But personally, I don't find this to be an issue, because you can use the direct and reamp, and then you can saturate with a drive. I tend to usually prefer tape saturation for electric keys. Tends to be the best. And then if you have like a good API style of drive, that can also be nice, because it can add that kind of grit and tactile and nature to the sound. So personally, not a huge issue, but if you don't do that yourself, limited functionality with the amp, because it does go for a specific sound here, and then if you want to pull back, doesn't seem like you can do that here. So, but yeah, in any case, I would recommend you play with other amping plugins, with electric pianos, and some kind of a saturation distortion plugin. Some libraries do have these built in, and they can, depending on what you're going for, they can serve well. But in most cases, even with the libraries that have that function, I go for my own amping. So take that for what it's worth. I want to check out the mechanical noises here. So you got two controls. You got key press and key release. So you don't have controls for further mechanical components, so only the key press and release here. That's actually a really cool tone. I like a lot of the side product mechanical noises that you get with these instruments. I'm maxing out the key release so you can hear what it does. You can hear that thing. That's really cool. I like that kind of stuff. Very good to have level control for that. Let me test the key press. Very cool. That's actually far more diverse than I expected it to be, because this kind of controls, yeah, the key press mechanical noise volume, but seems to, you get the perception of actually controlling the mechanical noises as a whole. So that's actually, yeah, more versatile than I expected. But yeah, they're very nice. Without the mechanical noises, this very easily becomes quite synthetic sounding. Now again, maybe that's something you want to go for, but actually I'm gonna take that back because it made it sound like I'm saying it's sounding super synthetic. It's not. I mean, this is still very much electric piano sounding. Actually has those other mechanical components in there in the sampling. This section simply separates the key release aspect of it. So this would be with key mechanical noises. So very nice. They just add that extra bit of realism, presence. That's very cool. I think they did a good job with this because it seems very simple and limited, but it has a big effect, and you get a fair amount of control with this. So that's actually really nicely done. Stereo spread. Let's just max it out to showcase that. So very subtle. They don't go overboard into any settings that make your brain and mind twist when you go like full crazy on the phasing. So this is the normal neutral setting. And this is stereo spread full. I actually really like that. It sounds a bit more like it's not like a stereo widener thing. This sounds more like a different, certain elements are placed in a different place. That really nicely opens it up. Don't get any nasty phasing, brain melting and bending sounds. Just kind of like, and even maybe a bit of a kind of a tremolo quality in the sense that it's clearly shifting and moving certain things to the side and not to the other. Stereo sample spread all the way down, so maybe this is like mono. Definitely doesn't go super mono. It's kind of just like a more collapsed or focused, and collapsed isn't a negative here. kind of a thing. But I like that it's very tastefully done. It's like you can't really fuck up with that. It's a matter of preference and taste, and then you can reserve like super mono or super whatever else you want to do, tremolo or mind-bending stereo phasing stuff with other tools. So I think that's a good choice, actually, which I would much prefer to have it this way than the other. Chorus, let's max it out to test it out. That's what we do here. It's actually very pleasing, quite soft, which I was hoping for. Oftentimes with choruses, they've been really improving these effects. Even if I think about the past, maybe 3-5 years, been getting smoother and better, which is really nice. Can be very difficult to make those as smooth as and pleasant as in the analog domain. Obviously you don't have a ton of control, you just have control over the amount. It does, I think, work a bit better in the low mids than in the high, but really nothing an EQ couldn't help with. So this is chorus halfway. So this is a way choruses are often used with electric pianos. I tend to go like really hard or not at all. So you can clearly hear and feel how it brings movement to it. It tends to, you lose some of the sharper edge as well, some of the tactile nature, some of the transients. Kind of rounds them off a lot, because obviously because of what choruses are doing or what they do. This is chorus at full again. So it's more apparent and 80s, if you will. A bit of chorus can definitely brings that kind of movement and liveliness into the sound, so it's good to have. Again, you have the options you have, so it's either gonna fit your taste and the function you're going for, or it's not. But it sounds good. That can certainly cover like most basic basses for sure. Very easily, and it's quite nice especially in this zone. Next up, atmosphere. I wonder if I max this out, do we get rid of the basic signal? We don't. So okay, let's play with this a bit. Yeah, super good. I mean, this is as tastefully and well done as any of the other atmosphere layers I've heard. Again, you don't get to dig in there and control a lot of things. At least with the other atmosphere controls in the pianos, you get to adjust the intensity, which is really nicely well designed, and that takes care of, like, I don't know, most of the concerns and balances and issues you might have. They're really well designed. They like take the main points of concern into consideration. Here, I don't know if I pull this back to half. So I'm trying to listen to how intense kind of the effect gets in terms of like speed and those kind of things. It's not like there's a clear change in kind of speed. Sounds like it's in the same ballpark, so I'm suspecting this is more of just the apparentness of it, the volume, and you know how mixed in it is. Yeah, it sounds great. Obviously, tad bit more control over this would just make this like the intensity control would make this just like a perfect thing. But this sounds really great. It's simply a matter of whether it fits your song and what you're aiming for. Yeah, very cool. I wish there was also an option to go atmosphere only. I think that would make this fantastic. You could just mute the original signal altogether like you can with the pianos. I think actually that alone would be like the first addition I'd put here in the atmosphere layer. That would be super nice, because oftentimes I just want to use the pad or the atmosphere tool. So that would be my suggestion there. Let's pull that down all the way. I'm gonna okay, Reverb actually has quite a few controls. So you got hall or room, then you can control size, damping, and mod. So that's a lot of control for a free library Reverb, but I guess they were kind of sort of built in already, so they could just throw it in there. But that's really cool. So let's listen to the reverb at full in terms of the default configuration. Cool, nice. Again, I'm personally not a big fan of big reverbs or much of any reverb, more like an ambient guy when it comes to electric keys, but that's cool to have. I'm going to test the room. Actually has a nice sense of presence there. So if I pull the size down, let's max out damping and max out the mod. Some chorus in there. That's pretty nice. Again, depending on what I'm working with, not a huge like intense reverb person, but that was simply to demonstrate kind of the extent of it. Yeah, cool. I think that covers our bases here. And then you got a setting screen with sample start adjustment and velocity response adjustment. So that's cool to have in there. Produced by Will Bedford, performed by Angus Roberts Carey. Sorry if I'm not the best at pronouncing stuff at this hour. Sample editing Alexander Smith and Peter Flint. Scripting Peter Flint. Artwork David Cotton. Cool. Well, I think that covers everything here. At least I don't see anything more. So, summarizing that up, since it's free, go get it now. Even if it wasn't free, very strongly recommending getting this. Like I said, it plays super nice. This is very nicely sampled. Very impressed by how it's put together. Playability is very instant, very tactile, feels really good. Like I said, this is better than some of the paid offerings out there. I know there are many electric piano libraries out there, many, but even some of the ones that you may have heard of, this sounds and plays better. In a true Fracture Sounds fashion, it plays really nicely. They get that stuff nailed every single time. A very nice tone to it. And like I said, the good thing is that it sounds like it really responds well to all kinds of treatment, like EQ, saturation. You know, what the heck. Just quickly to kind of demonstrate my point here. Let me just think a moment. Okay, I want to let's throw Saturn 2 from FabFilter on here. And I just have the warm tape setting here. And I'm using FabFilter because I know it doesn't crash my session here. Otherwise I would check out the Kosh audio stuff, but it does unfortunately crash my system for some reason. So let me reverb off, chorus off, stereo spread center, direct signal, mechanical noises set to middle. So let me adjust the tape saturation here a bit. Actually, let's do this the other way. So, okay, I'm hoping this doesn't crash my session, but I don't know since I haven't actually tested this on this system. But I'm putting the Chandler GAV19T amp simulation plugin by Plugin Alliance here. And let's do some adjustment. That is very loud. So let me check these settings. Let's do normal shape. Then let's do aggressive, and then let's control the input here. So somewhere around there. Maybe is thick a better setting? Bear with me here. Let's go with aggressive, and then so you can hear that a bit of like breaking quality that is sort of like tearing sounding. I tend to like that. This is obviously very, very fast setting up here, but regardless. slight grit, slight distortion. If you want to push it even more, you can add some tape onto it. And again, here, any kind of distortion is going to accentuate the bell, tinny qualities, which I would not do. So I'd probably put like an EQ before these to kind of taper down what is being fed into these sounds. So I'm going to play this a bit with the distortion here we have, and then without. This is without. So yeah, very tame, kind of polished, and then again with distortion. So it gets that bit of grit, and you know, many ways to do it, but this is like for sound that it's slightly gritty, slightly darker, kind of mustier, I guess. Yeah, let's go with that. And just gives it that bit of darkness. And as you can hear, this responds very well to this kind of very even basic saturation distortion treatment. So just to prove a point, but that is oftentimes a great mark of a sample library for me, that you hear it's in a beautiful, natural, open position, and you can take it into many different directions, as opposed to being a library that is already very refined and tweaked and produced, and then it's very tough to make it into anything else. That's not to say those libraries can't be great, because they often are, but just that added degree of flexibility is always better to have if possible, because then you can kind of backtrack and tweak things to your own liking and taste. Obviously, many libraries have these effects and processing things built into the engine, and that's cool. Gives us that control. But again, this is just to demonstrate a point. But finally, let's wrap this up. Yeah, it's fantastic. I don't know, like, if it's free as it is right now. I don't know why you wouldn't grab it if you use electric keys. And as I said, you can use a bunch of processing to use this kind of as like a synthesizer-ish sounding element, especially with distortion and, let's say, granular effects, etc. So fantastic. It's really hard to find many flaws in libraries that are free and really well done. Like I said, do I wish the chorus had a bit more tweakability? Sure, but it sounds great. It's simply a matter of whether it fits your track or not. Do I wish the atmosphere had the option to go atmosphere only? So mute the direct signal or the original signal? Yes, I wish that was the case. Intensity control with the atmosphere? Yes. But you're kind of like, you're asking things, it's a free thing, and you're kind of asking more and more of it, which is fine, but it's like, is it reasonable to expect that? Probably not in most cases. Reverb, again, don't use much reverb for these types of instruments, or like a very realistic 3D sounding room space is what I usually go for, if at all, if anything. But it sounds good to have that utility there. A lot of people who do sort of more typical use cases, especially if you do like gigs and stuff like that, then that's going to be useful for a bunch of different tracks, etc. I wasn't a huge fan of the amp signal to begin with, and especially in the light that you don't get any additional control with it, not in terms like the drive of it or the EQ balance, etc. But like I said, and hopefully demonstrated, you can do that yourself with the direct signal, which anyway is what I would personally recommend in most cases, even if you have a library that allows you the control over those things. Not to say they're always crap. In many cases they're great, but just plugins often give you that extra 10, 15, 20% control. And then mechanical section, this was actually really great because it's I know it says key press and key release controls, but it plays into the whole immersion of the mechanical nature of it in such a great way that it ends up being more like a general mechanical noise control for me. So that's fantastic. But good stuff. I can't wait to hear the other libraries they've been working on. And like I said, I really like the concept of these free libraries because they bring that same quality, which means people get good stuff to use. They can familiarize themselves with your product and your style of doing things. And most importantly, they can write some awesome music with it, which certainly is the case with this because it's just a stellar sounding electric piano, even if you forget about all of these other features in there. So if you use electric keys at all, or if you're even thinking about using them, I don't know why you wouldn't go grab this right now before they change their mind about the price tag. But cool. Yeah, this makes me interested about whether they are working on a full-fledged electric key library. Again, I don't know. I haven't heard anything. This isn't like a sneaky ad, but assuming they've been sampling this, why not make a full-fledged type of thing in there as well, with a bunch of more stuff in there. I don't know, for extra sounds, maybe you can let me and the people know. But very cool stuff. Go check it out if it seems interesting to you. That's it for me for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, even though the contact interface didn't update. But I'll see you next time. Finished.